The most notorious Mexican drug lord, El Chapo Guzman, is known for escaping from 2 maximum security prisons and becoming one of the most wanted men in the world. Recently, El Chapo was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison by a U.S. court with the help of the FBI. How did the FBI bring down the empire of El Chapo and bring him to justice? El Chapo is regarded as one of the most powerful drug traffickers in the entire world. Between 2009 and 2013, Forbes listed him as one of the most powerful people in the world due to his cartel leadership's enormous wealth and power. He oversaw operations that produced, smuggled, and distributed large amounts of cocaine, methamphetamine, marijuana, and heroin throughout the United States and Europe, the 2 continents with the highest consumption rates worldwide. He was first arrested in Guatemala in 1993 and extradited to Mexico, where he was found guilty of murder and drug trafficking and given a 20-year prison sentence. In 2001, he broke out of federal maximum security prison by paying off prison guards. Then in 2014, he was arrested again in Mexico. At the time of his arrest, he had a combined $8.8 million bounty on his head. Prior to formal sentencing in 2015, he escaped through a tunnel dug into his jail cell by friends. After a shootout in January 2016, he was recaptured by Mexican authorities, who extradited him to the United States a year later. And in January 2022, a U.S. appeals court upheld the drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman's conviction, rejecting his appeal for a new trial and keeping him behind bars for the rest of his life. Guzman was found guilty in February 2019 of racketeering, money laundering, and transporting hundreds of tons of cocaine and other drugs into the United States over a 25-year period. He was later given a life sentence plus 30 years and ordered to pay $12.6 billion in forfeiture. Guzman's attorneys requested a new trial, citing misconduct on part of the jury among other reasons. Following media coverage of the 11-week trial, one of the jurors claimed to Vice News that he and other members of the jury had disobeyed trial judge Brian COGAN'S order. Guzman had also argued that he was unable to consult with his legal team prior to and during the trial because of the complete solitary confinement he was placed in after being extradited from Mexico in 2017. Guzman is currently completing his sentence in a Colorado high-security facility. In 2019, the FBI played a vital role to bring down El Chapo's empire. Christian Rodriguez, a technician who claimed to have set up a secure communication system for the cartel and worked for Guzman from 2008 to 2012, took the witness stand in Guzman's U.S. trial. According to Rodriguez, he dealt with Guzman's request to have spyware installed on about 50 special phones that he wanted to track. Guzman had access to users' calls, texts, and even the ability to turn on the phone's microphone and record at any time without their knowledge thanks to the software. While still working for Guzman, Rodriguez started helping the FBI, which gave agents access to the cartel's encrypted phone network. Sketch artists were told not to draw his face during his testimony, accompanied by extra security measures. In total, more than 200 calls from Guzman himself, as well as hundreds more from his agents, lieutenants, and family members were all intercepted by the FBI. However, the FBI didn't make that information public until that trial. FBI agent Stephen Marston testified in court about a number of high-risk operations organized with Christian Rodriguez, an IT specialist from Sinaloa who later became a federal informant and has since moved to the United States under FBI protection. He also said the spyware allowed American authorities to access text messages from Guzman's wife and alleged mistress's phones. The first thing Rodriguez did after being hired as an informant was to get around the secure network he had set up in Guzman's mountain hideout. Rodriguez fabricated an outage that briefly shut down the network in May 2010. Rodriguez's then boss, Jorge Cifuentes, believed the servers were down because Rodriguez had neglected to renew the lease. The FBI was able to listen in on Guzman's allegedly negotiating a 6-ton cocaine deal with members of the FARC guerrilla group because the outage was staged to force Guzman and his agents to use tampered cell phones. The FBI and MARSTON wanted full access to Guzman's network despite the fact that the outage was brief. Agents then gave Rodriguez the order to move the servers for its network to the Netherlands from Canada, where encryption laws had quashed the FBI's search warrants. According to the Dutch publication NL Times, the FBI and the Dutch high-tech crime team collaborated for 18 months to compromise the network and obtain access to the hundreds of calls that served as the foundation of the prosecution's case. Marston had then read for the jury the early 2012 text messages that the FBI had obtained using Guzman's spyware. Jeffrey LICHTMAN, one of Guzman's attorneys, cross-examined MARSTON regarding his recognition of Guzman's voice on recordings but did not cast doubt on the factuality of the texts. In some texts, Guzman and his wife Emma Coronel can be seen debating the risks of the cartel life. Guzman advised Coronel to live a normal life when she claimed that law enforcement was keeping an eye on her. Coronel assured Guzman in one of the messages that the gun he had given her was still in her possession. Guzman informed Coronel that he had escaped through a window following a raid on a home in the Mexican beach resort of Los Cabos that resulted in the capture of several of his associates. He requested that she purchase some items for him, such as aftershave and black mustache dye. When El Chapo started to hide out in his hometown of La Tuna, the phones once more pointed officers in his direction, but he was able to escape and run for cover when the troops moved in. He was on vacation in Los Michos, northern Mexico, with a lover and was woken as police stormed the building. He was given another chance by the wiretaps to flee through a tunnel dug under a bath. His luck finally ran out when he was located at another safe house and attempted to flee, but was immediately arrested by law enforcement as he came out of a manhole cover close to a Walmart. However, Guzman's own love of surveillance ultimately led federal agents to charge him. In testimony before the court, Rodriguez claimed that he personally set up 50 BlackBerry phones with monitoring software called FlexiSpy at Guzman's request. The undetectable software can read text messages and call logs, steal passwords saved to the device, and remotely activate and listen to the microphone. Starting at $68 per month, it positions itself as a method of employee and parental control. Technology experts and advocacy groups that support victims of domestic violence have harshly criticized the software, claiming that it encourages stalking and gives abusers more power to control their victims. Guzman referred to the BlackBerry as his special phones and used them to spy on his close friends. Rodriguez testified in court that Guzman eventually got into the habit of unexpectedly calling his friends and activating the microphone after the call ended to hear what they had to say about him. In addition to his lieutenants, Rodriguez also called his family, including his wife, kids, and mistresses. In 2012, he texted Agustina Cabanillas Acosta, his mistress, asking, "How are the sales going?" She responds, "Like busy bees." Rodriguez informed the FBI of El Chapo's internal spy network, and agents obtained messages between Guzman and his wife and girlfriends, who also worked as operatives. Both Acosta and Guzman's wife, Emma Coronel Ayespuro, suspected Guzman of spying on them with their BlackBerries, despite the fact that no one in the cartel suspected Rodriguez. According to reports, Acosta texted a friend that she didn't trust the BlackBerries because the bastard can find them. "I'm a lot smarter than him," she continued. Later, a pivotal moment in the trial of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman occurred when the prosecutors played a phone call between Guzman and a cartel operative known as Gato for the jury. Guzman is overheard in the call instructing a cartel member to bribe a commander in the Mexican Federal Police, according to federal prosecutors. "Does he get the monthly payment?" Guzman asks. Gato confirms that the cartel is sending the officer bribes on a regular basis, then hands the phone to the federale, who confirms the payment and pledges his loyalty. Earlier this year, prosecutors played another call in court in which El Chapo was heard negotiating a cocaine deal worth 6 tons with a representative of a left-wing Colombian guerrilla group. El Chapo was heard bargaining over prices in this recording. He even insisted on dispatching a technician for quality control before dispatching their initial payment of $50,000. The FBI agreement that sealed Guzman's fate included the testimony of one of his Colombian suppliers, Jorge Cifuentes. He was the one who introduced the kingpin to IT expert Christian Rodriguez. He also testified that Rodriguez had promised to set up a secure communication channel for the cartel's entire network. His system used voice over internet protocol and could only be accessed by those who were part of the network. This was the technology that allowed El Chapo to connect to the internet from his hideouts in the Sierra Madre Mountains. But as fate would have it, FBI agents listened to them, and Guzman is now serving his life sentence. El Chapo is regarded as one of the world's most powerful drug traffickers and the world's 8th richest criminal, with a net worth of $1 billion. This brings us to the end of the video. Every crime is somehow exposed in a lawful country, right? And El Chapo is spending his life in prison. Let's hope he doesn't escape again. However, the true criminal is always full of surprises. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comment section down below. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, which is completely free.